Who the Wild Things Are with Ryan McGuire.
You gotta listen to your body.
Oh my God, maybe, I could get out there, I could do this.
Let's take a ride, find your wild side, real stories, see with your own eyes.
It's so beautiful.
I'm gonna have the best time out here.
I was in tears. I was like, that's the best, man.
Welcome back to Who the Wild Things Are. My name is Ryan McGuire, and I'm here to bring you conversations with the most wild folks on the planet. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. And if you enjoyed the episode, share it with a friend. Appreciate you guys. Let's get it going. Okay, great news. For 2026, Last Mountain Man Standing is returning to Conifer, Colorado. What that means is we're going to be racing through the Rocky Mountains. It's a four-mile loop with Mountain Man style obstacles. If you make it through the loop in 1 hour, you get to keep going. If you make it through 6 loops, the 7th loop is a race on the same course to decide the last mountain man and woman standing. They will each win the cash prize and take it home with them, be crowned victorious. If you don't want to get competitive, you just want to come out, we're going to have a beautiful mountain camp set up with vendors, good vibes, everyone hanging out. You can do a single lap. We call that the Foxtrot for a discounted price. And ultimately, it's just a great day in the mountains. July 18th is when it's going down, and I hope to see you guys there.
All right. Welcome back to Who the Wild Things Are. Today, I'm sitting here matching with the headgear with my friend, Mr. Kelly Meredith. Good to see you, man.
Thanks, Ryan. It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, so you've been on a crazy little heat streak. Kind of an exciting time from where I stand to be Kelly. So I want to get into all the things you're working on. Obviously, we can see some Hyrox flags in the back there. But before we get too deep into, where we are today, let's give people a little bit of background on who you are and how we got here.
Yeah, let's try. I think it, we can back up just from Ryan and I's relationship is fairly a new relationship that just happened over this summer through community, which we can get into community here in a little bit. But, my background is a little bit different. Coming up, I was in the coaching profession, coached high school football, coached college football, coached some Arena League football, bounced, around in a couple different colleges, a couple different high schools. And then went to go work for a family business. Was going to take a break from coaching for a little bit, went to go work for a family business that turned into another business within the family business that led me to a different career path than I've ever thought I would be. So I went from coaching football to dealing with forklifts, which is something I really knew nothing about, to growing a business from scratch, to a business that sold within the family business about 3 years ago, that led me to a journey of, I guess, exploration, led me to a journey of travel, and thought that I was just going to be on this path that my wife and I would travel the world. We'd just enjoy ourselves. We'd enjoy our time. I would help, do some consulting for some people, do a little bit of side work here and there, but really wasn't looking to get into anything full time. And then I met this community based out of Denver through Eric Kinman and his group, and discovered that, through a founders only group of all these different influencers who were in the fitness space, which is something that I really enjoyed and admired. The fitness space, have always been involved in fitness at some level, sometimes not as high as where I am now, but at some point always been involved in fitness, whether it was, running marathons or whether it was, lifting heavy weights or whether it was doing CrossFit. Now the trend for me is Hyrox. Still hate the running part of it, but that's kind of the new trend. But through Eric and his community led me to meeting Ryan and Nicole this last summer on a trip to Lake Powell, where we were all in Lake Powell and got to experience that and do some boating. And, in the middle of all this, I decided to launch a beverage company. And so actually in June, Was it June or July that we were together, Ryan?
Good question. I was gonna go late May, could be June. I'm horrible at months,
Yeah, I am
but
too. Yeah.
it was
Well,
when
right.
there.
Yeah, right when we had met, we were just in the process of developing our drink. I mean, we were still very, very in the early stages of developing our drink. So we weren't very far along. This process started in March of 2025. The idea was kind of born and said, hey, we're going to do this to June of this last year of 2025. We decided that we're going full bore with it. And then December 1st, 2025, we launched our first production of the drink. So that's kind of where we're at today. And we're running full bore with it. We're building, a brand. We're building a community behind the drink called Dottir, which is an Icelandic marine collagen. And so that's what we're doing, man. And we're just running with it.
Yeah, I love it. It's been cool for me because, yeah, like I said, when you and I first met, you kind of talked about this thing as if it was like maybe gonna happen. Like I was there, it wasn't even a real thing yet. So to see, just this quick transpiring of growth, of attention, and dedication of resources and time to something it's really cool, and it makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, okay, Kelly's the kind of guy that you can hear from the past. He builds businesses, right? He puts his head down. He works really hard on things, and those kind of individuals, they tend to succeed, whether it's learning a playbook, scheming a new defense, building a forklift business, or building a drink company, right? Like all of those attributes that make someone good at one of those things makes them good at all of them, right?
And I think, but Ryan, I'd like to even say from your coaching mentality of how you deal with athletes is the same way that we deal with business. And so if we're intentional with what we do, and if the athletes that you're coaching, or you're intentional, with your training, as you spoke earlier, right at the beginning of the call, you had a rough training day, but you know what? You had a training day. And some days are worse than others. And it's how we fight back from those is what we're looking at. So this past weekend, I raced in Phoenix and came away not super excited with the results. But I did finish. And you know what? I got up today and I trained for 3 hours and I went back at it, and we'll see what happens. So, I mean, we can't always control the results. One of the things that I have learned over the years is we can control our community. We can control the people that we're surrounded with, and we can control our effort. And through those things, I think good things happen. If we're taking shortcuts, whether it's in ingredients, or we're taking shortcuts in whether it's hiring the right people, or we're taking shortcuts in our training, yes, we can expect to have, the failures, or expect to have the low points. But all we can do is keep our head down and keep moving.
August 26th to the 30th, we are doing our Field to Feast trip. What that means, it's a 5-day trip where you're going to learn how to safely and responsibly dispatch an animal, process that animal, and learn to actually live on it while traveling through the wild with a band of beautiful humans. It's going to be in an amazingly beautiful area. We're going to learn how to forage wild edibles. We're going to learn how to make fire. We're going to learn all the skills you need to process an animal and use that animal, live with that animal for 5 days, and we're going to laugh a lot while we do it. So if you guys are interested, you can go to survivaluniversity.com, or you can go to the link in my bio on Instagram, or you can just reach out to me, ask me a question. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Love you guys. Hope to see you in the bush.
Definitely. And I think your product's a great example of that. I've had a lot of people, reach out to me, I want to be on the show, or interested in connecting, and they've got maybe like a CPG, like a consumer packaged goods brand, or any number of businesses. But I really feel like when I'm going to go into a long form with somebody, any of the bullshit is going to come out, right?
Yeah.
Because like in a reel, you can hide all that stuff. You can just like show the highlights. But if you're going to sit down and talk to someone for an hour, the truth is going to come out. And so I'm very selective about like talking to people about products unless they are fully committed to a high fidelity product. And I think Dottir fits in that, where the idea for this comes from a real need in the human biome, right? Like a lack of availability of solid cold water fish that, you know, maybe our ancestors would have had a lot more access to. So talk to me a little bit about the idea for a collagen drink and kind of the science and the motivation behind it.
Yeah, I think for us, it was like there again, I was not in the beverage industry. I was not looking to be in the beverage industry, but I discovered a trip, on a trip to Iceland, discovered Icelandic marine collagen and understood the benefits of Icelandic marine collagen that were coming from pure cod whitefish that lived in the coldest, harshest environment, that was producing the best collagen that your body could absorb, led me to saying, man, let's put this into a drink and let's make this something that we can take on a daily basis, and bring it to the US and create something that's very special. So, fortunately for me, through a friendship with Katrin Davidsdottir, who's from Iceland, and most people will know her as the former two-time CrossFit champions, the world's fittest woman in the world, and having conversations with her about this Icelandic marine collagen and what collagen means to them in Iceland. And for those of you who don't know, that Iceland is it's a country that had the first woman president ever, and they currently have a woman president. And so for them, the women have no barriers. The women feel, that they also grow up in a very harsh environment, and they thrive. And Katrin is a prime example of that. And Annie Thorisdottir, who's also part of the team, is a prime example. She was the first ever two-time women's CrossFit Games champion. And so they brought intentionality, integrity, they brought resilience to the thing. And so when we discovered this marine collagen, I felt it was the same thing. The collagen represented the resilience, it represented integrity, it represented strength. And so for me, it was like, if I'm going to do something and I'm going to get into the supplement space, or I'm going to get into the fitness space, let's do it all out and let's make it the best thing that we can possible. So through a conversation with my formulator, when I brought her the idea of the marine collagen and we said, hey, let's put a vitamin stack around it. The conversation basically was, there's no shortcuts. We're going to use the purest, best ingredients that we can find on the market. Everything's going to be natural, but we also need to make it taste good, and we need to make it something that people can enjoy. So that's not always easy. So when you start talking about purest ingredients, best ingredients, but it also better taste good, sometimes you have to sacrifice some of your ingredients in order to get flavor. We were not willing to do that. So it took us a lot longer to get to where we needed to be before we could go to market with something that we felt was going to be marketable. And there again, it was doing it with the best of the best.
Yeah, it checks out, right? You think about the kind of stress that those women are under, their bodies, and the kind of things that they are able to endure, especially, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, because I am not a CrossFitter, but I think it's Annie who has been doing CrossFit since the first ever CrossFit Games, I think.
Yeah, I think she was probably very, very early in the days. I don't know her exact date of when she started, but she had to be one of the very first ones to go.
And it's still, right, like usually these sports, as they become professionalized, a lot of the older athletes or the people who were elite in the beginning kind of get phased out, right? Because more talent comes in. She's still, like, over the last couple of years, been maintaining at the highest level. So clearly is operating extremely efficiently in terms of soft tissue. Like
Right.
the number of things you have to put your body through in terms of soft tissue in CrossFit, ligament damage, cartilage in your knees, like all these sorts of things. And that's exactly what collagen, like cold water collagen, specifically supports. So obviously it's an anecdotal story, but it's a pretty good testament to the Icelandic way of life.
Yeah. So from your ligaments, your tendons, you have the strength that you're developing through collagen. As we age, we lose collagen. And then one of the things that was so important for us is to be able to add glycine and vitamin C to the stack to help your body absorb the collagen. So, I mean, we can still take collagen on a daily basis, but if it's not stacked with the right vitamins, your body's not going to absorb it completely. And so that was one of the things that we were very intentional with too, is making sure that we had the right vitamin stack to allow our bodies to absorb the collagen.
So you've got this idea, you're visiting, you're seeing this really cool drink idea. You're thinking I could bring this to the US and I think it would do well. But obviously you're like, do I really want to bite all this work off for myself when I'm just, kind of semi-retired? I have a good time with my wife. Life is good. Do I really want to go down that tree? How did you think about that process?
Yeah, it's still a process I think about daily. Ryan, I think it was community. I think that to be able to do this and to be able to hand select the people that I could do it with really made it special. So my first initial conversation with Katrin, as we talked about it, and I said, Katrin, I think I can figure out a way for us to create this drink. We could bring it to the US, but I need to know if you and Annie are going to be on board and if it's something you guys are excited about and that you want to support. And she got back to me about a week later. We had a phone call. She said, yes, we're definitely in. So my next phone call was to the formulator, and it was, Jen, I need to know if we bring this drink to the market, can we make it the healthiest drink possible and to be able to get the benefits of collagen? She said, for sure we can. I just need some time to go through the formulation. We need some time to develop it. We can make it happen. So then after that, it was like, I really don't want to be involved in the day-to-day operations and be back running full speed into things. And it was like, okay, I need somebody that can be an operator that can be able to handle this from operations side, somebody that I can trust. And in June of last year, I was at the Hyrox Worlds with Eric Hinman. Eric introduced me to Reed. And as we were walking away, he said, Kelly, if you ever need an operator, Reed's your guy. You need to reach out to Reed. You need to call him. So later that afternoon, I found Reed at the Hyrox event. I said, Reed, I'm not sure what you have going on. I said, quick story. I have, looking at getting into the beverage business. I need somebody to help me with operations. Can we set up a phone call next week to talk? And so that led down to that path. And then through another relationship, I had a guy that was on a marketing side, Jeff. I had reached out to Jeff, and he was actually with me on the trip to Iceland. And I said, Jeff, you remember when we talked about, creating a drink in the US with the marine collagen? I said, we're getting ready to pull the trigger on that. Do you want to be part of the team? And he said, yes, I want to be part of the team. So hand selecting these people that have integrity, that have values, and people that I enjoy to be around was a huge part of why I wanted to do this. And then to be able to see the community involved. I mean, I think, Ryan, the first night we produced the drinks in November, at the end of November, we had a dinner there in Longmont, Colorado, and you and Nicole came, and we probably had 5 or 6 other people from the area that, I had just recently met come to support us. Everybody, was able to try the drinks. And it's just been a really fun process as we continue to build this community and get the support that we're getting.
Obviously there's, dozens of highlights, and I'm sure we'll get into a lot of them, but I also want to know about the struggles. What has been the hardest part of trying to get into the beverage industry, specifically making a novel drink, right? Like something that doesn't currently exist.
Yeah. So the biggest struggle was the overall taste of the drink, and then also a slight odor of the drink. So as you're mixing in the vitamin packs, the vitamin stacks, and, trying to add the collagen to the drink, we kept coming back to some weird odors, to some weird aftertaste, and trying to remain all natural was extremely, I'll use the word frustrating, extremely challenging for us to do. It's been also very interesting as we've gone through this process and we've discovered the ways to do it, we've had a lot of phone calls from people asking how were you guys able to do this? Because we can't figure it out. From the manufacturer that we're getting the collagen from, we have quite a few phone calls with them about so-and-so wants to know, how are you making this happen? How can you make this work with being all natural, using the ingredients that you can use using, and have such a good tasting drink? So that was the biggest challenge for us, because there's a lot of unknowns. And if you just make a little bit of tweak, to the flavors, or a little bit of tweak to the sweetener, or a little bit of tweak to the vitamins, it changes the whole thing drastically. We went through kind of a funny story, not really funny for me, but we went through a phase where we went through what we thought was the final production. We were sitting in California. We were at the formulator's location. We were all sitting at the table, and we felt like we had nailed the drink. And we felt like the flavors were on point. Everything was great. And at the time, Annie and Katrin were both in Iceland. Katrin was over there visiting at the end of the summer, late July, I believe, or early August, was over there visiting her family. Annie was there in Iceland. And so my first initial response was to the formulator, can we put these drinks in cans tonight? I'm going back to the hotel. I'm going to figure out a flight to go to Iceland, and I'm taking them these drinks so they can give us the final approval that they agree with what we have. And they were like, yeah, we can make it happen. So I stayed an extra night in LA, went back to the facility the next day, picked the drinks up, had them in boxes, loaded up a suitcase that was probably way overweight, and flew to Iceland. That ended up taking me about a 20-hour trip to Iceland with all these drinks on my check-in luggage, hoping that they would arrive without busting, that they would all get through okay. Everything worked out fine. We got to Iceland with the drinks. We arrived to Annie's house, put the drinks on ice for a while. We just, have a conversation. Everybody's excited to try them. We sit at her table, her kitchen table. She has some family members over because they're so excited about the drinks. We open up the drinks, and Annie's first words out of her mouth were, "Damn it, it smells bad." And I was like, no, it can't. No, there's no way it smells bad. It was just yesterday, 2 days ago, it was perfect. And so they tasted it, and it was like, no, the taste is not there either. And we're like, what do you mean? It's not like, what do you mean? 2 days ago, we had this thing nailed down. We thought we had it finalized, and it's just not good. So I was like, well, maybe it was the flight. Maybe it was, change in, the cabin pressure. I don't know. So I tasted it and I agreed. So I stepped out of the ring, called our formulator and said, hey, we got problems. The drink that we had 2 days ago is not the same drink that we have here in Iceland. What's going on? So long story short of that is we found out that when they went to go can the drinks, when you're in a canning process of a beverage, you take it through what they call heat pasteurization. And heat pasteurization is a tunnel pasteurization that they put heat to it to preserve the drink. When they did that and they added the heat to it, it changed all the chemicals in the drink. And so everything changed from the vitamin stack to the collagen. It changed the way that it tasted, the way that it smelled, everything. So then we realized, you know what? We've got to figure out a way to do this without the heat pasteurization. And so we had to go back to square one and figure out what's the way that we could pasteurize the drink without running it through a heat tunnel, which took us some time. We found a company that had experience in doing that. We were able to partner with them, and we went back a couple of weeks later. We went through the same process without the heat pasteurization, using the pasteurization that we found, and everything worked out great. So that was very challenging to think that you're there and then you're not there, not even close. And so luckily for me, I got a 2.5 day trip to Iceland, was able to sleep for about 3 or 4 hours and get back on a plane and head back home. But that was very challenging for us and very hard process.
Yeah, it sounds just like what most people think of in retirement, right?
So good news is, like I said, I got to go to Iceland. I did get a tour the collagen facility when I was there. So we drove about 3.5 hours north of Reykjavik to go tour that facility. But other than that, it was a very disappointing, hard thing to do. So other challenges, Ryan, I think about, like, I don't really say that there's a lot of, I'll say that there's some challenges, but nothing that was not something that we couldn't overcome. With the team that we have, I felt like we were very proactive in what we did. We all communicate very well. Everybody was, very cautious and aware of, what we could be faced with. I'll come back to community. We are very fortunate that we've had a lot of companies in the beverage business that we were able to communicate with and talk with, and gave us a lot of advice of do's and don'ts. One thing that I will say, in the entrepreneur space and being in this space of not knowing what to do, you can't be afraid to ask questions. And you have to just put yourself out there and just go find the people that will give you the answers. And been very, very fortunate to find people that have opened up and shared a lot of information with us in companies that are very, very successful. And then also in some companies that have struggled, but they were able to share the do's and the don'ts, and, share with us what they would do again, what they wouldn't do again, what to avoid, the pitfalls, tailwinds, headwinds. So that was very, very helpful for us.
Okay, July 1st to the 5th, the Primitive Skills Run is returning to Colorado. What this means is we're going to be doing an ultralight trip, learning how to live off the land, learning how to forage wild edibles and catch fish, living really like our ancestors used to. It's going to be July 1st to the 5th. To sign up, you can go to thesurvivaluniversity.com, or you can go to the link in my bio. And remember, you don't have to be a runner necessarily to go on the Primitive Skills Run, but you do need to have a general level of fitness. If you have any questions, I can provide all the information. Just reach out to me personally or check out the website for more details. Hope to see you in the bush.
Going from, a forklift CEO to a beverage CEO, did you have any imposter syndrome when you started this?
I wouldn't say so. No. No, I think, to me, it's people. It's a people business. At the end of the day, we're still who we are. So it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter to me. So I wouldn't say so.
So it's not as though what you're selling matters. It's more of how you're selling it, how you're building it.
Yeah, if I can bring value to somebody in their daily life, and what you have to think about is the way that I look at a forklift business, and the way I look at, we ran a fleet management company. We were working for some, Fortune 100 companies. At the end of the day, you wouldn't have food on your table if their forklifts weren't operating in their facilities. And so sometimes we have to explain to employees that what you're doing is extremely important, because the world would not be able to operate without you guys doing what you're doing. Even during, COVID, it was a situation where most of the businesses that we dealt with were running 24 hours a day to keep the world going. So it was very important, even though there are forklifts, it was very important of what we were doing. And so if I look at that from a beverage perspective and what we've created from a health perspective, we're bringing something to the market that's extremely healthy and extremely beneficial to individuals. And so if we can still serve people and build a community, then I think that we're, whatever it is, whatever profession you're in, you can look at anything that you're doing, you're making somebody's life better by doing what you're doing on a daily basis.
So we've got the classic image in our head right now of Katrin, pissed. I think you said it was Katrin.
It was Annie's the one that made the comment, but
Annie.
everybody was very disappointed for sure.
Yeah, so we've got that image of, the negative feedback. Those things sort of get ironed out. By the time we tried it, I've had the privilege of destroying 2 cases of them myself. But what was the general feedback from the rest of the market once you got those things solidified and you kind of ironed out your process, what was the feedback from the market?
Our feedback has been tremendous. I mean, it has been overwhelmingly such a positive experience. I mean, we have done several taste tests where we've gone to events and have given out 200 cans. We've 150 cans. The feedback that we're getting has been extremely positive. I mean, I think that like I'll just today we had a review come in where somebody said, gave us 3 out of 5 stars, but it was because it wasn't sparkly enough. We're not going to make everybody happy, but I will say that 95% of the reviews or the feedback that we're getting are like so positive that we feel like we have done a tremendous job with what we've done. So that was, that's one of our strategies, is like we wanted to make sure that we wanted to nail down the branding, which, for those of you that have seen the can, I think the branding looks really, really good. And I can even, now you'll make me drink one here on the podcast. But I mean, if you look at the branding of the can, I mean, we've done a really good job of trying to make this thing look as good as possible. It has a little texture fill on the can. And so, we wanted to nail down the branding. And then the second thing we wanted to do is to build the community. And the feedback from the community has been really, really, really positive.
Obviously, fitness is a massive part of, Dottir. How do you think about caffeine content? It's such a huge, hotly debated topic inside of folks that work out. Obviously, there's really good literature on caffeine supporting athletic endeavors. There's other folks that see it as kind of a crutch. How did you guys think about the problem or the opportunity related to caffeine?
It was more the source of the caffeine. So, when we talked about it, it was like, what caffeine source are we going to use? Which we went back to a natural green tea extract source for our caffeine. I will say this, there was an energy drink that I drank on a daily basis, probably since 1998, that I had probably every day that I worked out. I, had packets of it, or I had jars of it that I would drink. That gave me more of a jittery alert, just more of a jittery type feeling of what the caffeine was. I will say with our green tea extract, and I think it like graded out at a 99.1%, which is extremely high quality of the green tea extract, that it's more of a clarity and a focus of the caffeine. So, only having 105 milligrams of the caffeine, it's something that you can drink and not feel guilty about it, and also not feel bad about the way it makes you feel. But it can give you that clarity and the focus, with that. So that's, that was very intentional for us also with the caffeine source.
You guys think about making, a version that has more, less, no caffeine, or is 105 kind of the sweet spot?
Very interesting question. So, well, Ryan, probably by the time people hear this show, we will have a caffeine-free version that will be launched. As of last Thursday and Friday, our team was in Longmont, Colorado, producing a caffeine-free version. And here's the reason why. So I love the flavor of the drink. I think it's absolutely amazing. It's very quenching. It's something that's very craveable. But I struggle at 6:30 at night, 7:00 at night, because I want one of my drinks, but it has 105 milligrams of caffeine. And I'm just like, I don't know if I should drink it. 9 times out of 10, I'm probably drinking it and I still sleep fine because it doesn't affect me like it does some others. But we also want to be able to give people the opportunity to be able to have the collagen to support skin, hair, nails, joints, ligaments, with the collagen without the caffeine, benefit. So if we were looking at, the reason why, it gives somebody an afternoon opportunity to have our drink without the caffeine, or for those who are concerned about what caffeine does to them, it also gives them a drink that they can have in the morning with the benefits of collagen. So, I mean, there's definitely a market for, people that are more concerned about, the skin, the hair, the nails. Then you have an athletic market that, hey, I just, I want the benefit for the tendons and the ligaments, but also having the caffeine pickups also, pretty nice. So people say, hey, what's the best time to drink it? My answer is all day. Probably the right answer is probably, in the morning, maybe early afternoon if you need to pick me up, if you're, a mother that's picking the kids up from school, or you have kids coming home, or you're getting a workout in, early in the afternoon. But with the caffeine-free version, it's just going to give you the same vitamin pack, but it also gives you the same, the same benefits of the collagen without having the caffeine in your body.
Yeah, I love the idea of a caffeine-free version for exactly the reasons you said, which is you can drink it late into the day.
Yeah.
I know everyone thinks about it differently. I personally try and use 3 p.m. as like my caffeine cutoff. I am a big believer in caffeine. I think it's great. I just think my sleep tends to suffer, and I know everyone's different that way. But
Yeah.
I would love to hammer a Dottir at 7 p.m. So I think this is exciting news for me personally.
Yeah. Last night, it's funny. So last night I got home from Phoenix. My caffeine-free drinks just arrived from the manufacturer at my house, and I had having dinner at 7:30, and I had a picture. I sent a picture out to our team, say, hey, not to brag, but I have a caffeine-free drink of our mandarin orange flavor as I was eating dinner, and it was so nice to be able to have and not worry about it, because it is something that you like the flavor. We have 3 flavors. We have the mixed berry, we have strawberry lemon, and we have mandarin orange. And if you like the flavors, it's definitely something that you want to have, more, of 1 or 2 of those, in a day. So the caffeine-free version gives you that opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, I love it. I want to dive into a little bit about your weekend at Phoenix, but also your broader mission in terms of your fitness. Obviously, I know Hyrox is the goal right now. Tell me a little bit about how this season has gone and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, it's I'll say it's been a struggle. I'm not making the improvements that I want to make, which I think there's probably an avenue there for you to help me in that. But the thing that I find about the Hyrox competitions, it's really a runner sport. You've got to be a runner to be able to do extremely well. I have made it to a certain level of being able to fight through very strong in the exercise parts of it, the weighted parts of it. But the zone 2 running and the running, under fatigue is definitely a struggle for me. So that's been a very big challenge. It was really fun this last weekend. We did a team relay with 4 of us, which was really fun. My son, who's 22, actually came down and joined us, and then Reed, who I spoke of earlier, who's on the operations team, and then Matt Bickle. We all did a 4-man relay, and we finished in 1 hour and 43 seconds, which is pretty impressive. We were probably the heaviest team out there, but to finish with, in 1 hour and 43 seconds is pretty impressive for what we were able to do. And then the next day competed in the pro singles, which, I was hoping to come in with a little bit better time and miss that time mark. Fighting through some cramps, which is there again. I think it just goes back to me doing some zone 2 training. So my schedule with Hyrox and the way that I've looked at this is, I was fortunate enough to qualify for Worlds as a doubles with a doubles partner. He and I will compete in Vegas in a couple weeks to get ready to see where we need to be in June. And then I've also qualified as an individual in my age group, which there I have to make the determination that I just need to put time on my feet and do zone 2 training.
Yeah, I think that's wise. I think so. People will probably Matt Bickle's episode will be out by the time people are listening to this one. I just had him on recently talking about his journey to Leadville, which is an amazing story to follow along with for sure. But he took a stat, like a Instagram story of you running. And I have a habit of everybody that I see running on Instagram, I pause it and I look at their foot strike and their mechanics. And the first thing I said was to Bickle, I was like, did you know that Kelly has incredible running form and economy? Like, this guy is just like a beautiful running stroke. So the only thing holding you back is probably just, the number of years training, right? Running takes so long to get good at. And I came from a football background myself. And so I know, after playing college football, I couldn't even run like a single 8-minute mile. Like, I could sprint, but I couldn't run, it was horrible. So it takes years to kind of improve that. And it seems like you're on the right track. But the most important thing is you have a great mechanical base to run and not get injured.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. And that's what scares me is like with, being my age, I'm in my early 50s and putting the pounding on my body that, scares me from an injury, perspective. So it's like, okay, can I hold off a little bit longer before I put time on my feet? Or do I just need, just get out there and do it? The thing that, for me, zone 2 training is probably the most boring thing that you can do. And I'm, I think you mentioned this earlier. I like to put my head down and get things done. I would rather go do track work, speed work, get on the treadmill, do 4 minutes speed work, 2-minute rest versus sitting there running for 50 minutes to 80 minutes at a zone 2 pace. I just lose it. Now, if I'm running with somebody and if I could find, in that group, I think that it would be easier to do. There again, it goes back to community. It depends on who you're surrounding yourself with. So, Matthew told me that you had made that comment. I did not believe him, that you said that. So I appreciate you validating that comment. So, now I just need to transfer it over to competition.
Yeah. And this is obviously my opinion, take it for what it's worth. I don't actually think that that's a problem that you don't like zone 2 running, because I don't think it's necessary for you. For older athletes that are more injury conscious, especially big muscular guys, I would recommend most of your running be quality and most of your zone 2 work being cross training. I think, generally, if you want to get really good at Hyrox, you have to do that sharpening speed, right? You saw Eric's post about it this week for him. He's like, the thing that has to improve to get to that next level on Hyrox is that top end speed. Now, the problem is if you try to pair top end speed and a lot of mileage at zone 2, and you're not a runner from your past, that's where the injuries happen. And so, I definitely recommend, sticking to your gut on that. Cross train for your Z2 and work on that high end track stuff that you're enjoying. And I think you'll be a weapon.
Yeah. Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that. It's definitely talking to Matthew and what you're doing with him, which is actually, it's an incredible journey. And it was so interesting to be with him this weekend. And so for those of you that have already listened to Matthew's podcast, with Ryan, to know this last weekend, I was with him in Phoenix. He did 3 races in one weekend. So we raced Friday afternoon in a relay race, which he did extremely well in his runs. It's basically 2 all-out runs, which he was able to do very, very well. The next morning at 9:00 in the morning, he did a doubles race, and finished that doubles race very good. And then 8:00 that night, he did a single pro race. So he's definitely putting the time in and putting the effort in and on his road to Leadville. And I think Ryan's been very instrumental in not only from a coaching standpoint, but just from a mentor standpoint. And he's definitely seeing the success.
Yeah. Appreciate the kind words there. The coaching thing's fun because you just kind of guide people. Ultimately, it's up to them. And somebody like Bickle is a great person to coach because they're ready to go out there and leave it all on the line, just absolutely attack every day with a ferocious amount of energy. So it's yeah, it's easier to coach an athlete that has that mentality. There's no need to convince them to work hard. Just coming full circle here, I want to hear about what's next for Dottir. The early reviews seem really good. It seems like everyone's really enjoying it. Where do you see this thing going? How far do you want to take it?
It's definitely a question that can be answered many different ways. The way that I'll answer it is over the next 5 years, what I would like to see with Dottir is one of the things that we've done with Dottir that really, really excited me was to be able to create what's called a resilience fund within the company. And the resilience fund is our opportunity to be able to give back to women in sports. And so that can be given back to women through coaching, through mentorships, through camps, through any way that we can to be able to give women opportunities to be able to succeed through athletics, sports, or even through mental issues. And so, if you said, how am I going to define success, or how am I going to judge what we're doing as a company, it will be to the people that we're able to give back to. That to me will make it really all worth it. I feel like, we have a tremendous product. We definitely can do some amazing things with this product, but to us to be able to give back with this product excites me more than anything else that we have. So I was just on a phone call, right before you and I talked about working with some activation groups, in the fitness space, in the female space, and, looking for opportunities that we can partner with nonprofit organizations that we feel that are aligned with our values, through an integrity standpoint, and are doing things the right way, that we can donate, or we can create opportunities through fundraisers, or, I would love to be able to have events that we can create around Dottir, that we're building these unity, community events, where, it's unity being involved, and we're being able to bring different people together, different, from all different backgrounds of life, and to be able to give back to people that way. So, there again, we are a beverage company. At the end of the day, it's still a beverage. But what we're trying to do is, through community and through the Resilience Fund, is more important to us to be able to give back and give people opportunities to be successful in whatever their dreams may be. And, we talked about Icelandic women, feel like there's no barrier or no ceiling on what they can do. And that's what we want to be able to give back, to our communities, is to be able to give these women opportunities that they might not do it because they can't afford childcare. They might not be able to do it because they're working 2 to 3 jobs. They might not be able to afford a gym membership. They might want to be a great runner, but they can't afford to hire, a coach to be able to take them to that next level. So we're going to look for opportunities to be able to give those women opportunities in those, different categories.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. When a lot of people talk about giving back, making an impact, sometimes it can feel phony or insincere or self-serving, but just knowing you for the last 6 months, I know that you're a guy that means what he says. So I'm excited to see that the splash that you guys are going to make with this drink, and throughout the industry and throughout the community. Well, Kelly, this was great. I appreciate you so much. For people that want to learn more about you, or for Dottir, what's the best way to find you, get in touch with you, follow along?
Yeah. So, website is, www.drinkdottir.com. We're on Instagram under Drink Dottir. And then, also, I'm on Instagram. I'm available, and, that's the thing is with this community, we want to be able to reach out and talk and respond to whoever we can, and try to, if there's somebody out there that's looking to be an entrepreneur, or somebody's out there is looking to ask questions on whatever, we want to be there to be able to help and support, just like people have done for us. So, my biggest thing is I want to give back. and pay people back for things that they have done for me, but also to be able to put it forward and give other people opportunities. So it's definitely it's a fun journey. I can't mention the word community enough, but like to be able to follow, to see what you do, Ryan, to see what Nicole does, to see what the community that you have around you does, is extremely exciting. For me, I'm looking forward to being in Leadville this summer to see the people that you're putting through the work, and seeing the people compete, and to see the people like push their limits above and beyond what they think their body's physically capable of doing.
Yeah, I can't wait for that, because you're going to be there in Leadville pacing. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So my plans are to be with Bickle and to help pace him and support him, whatever. So I think I better put the miles on, because the last thing I want to do is not be able to pace him at mile. Well, if he gets to mile 64, I don't want to be the one that's dropping out, after he's done 64 miles.
So that's your pacing point is going to start at 64.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I think he wants me to kind of be his crew chief, which there again, I need to learn what that means. This whole endurance world is a new thing for me, but anything that he asks for, I'm going to be there to support him. It might be the last leg, or it might be at 64, or it might be whatever I can do.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll do great. It'll be a lot like the trip to Iceland. You travel there, you move around a lot, and you don't sleep. That's pretty much that's the job.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, Kelly. Well, I appreciate you so much. And anybody that wants to get in contact, go check Kelly out on Instagram and definitely order some Dottir. It is delicious. I personally am the biggest fan of the wild berry flavor, so that's my official recommendation from the podcast. But until next time, everybody stay wild. Thanks again, Kelly.
Appreciate you, Ryan. Thanks, buddy.